welcome back to the end of another week around the yard, and my wisteria is starting to blossom. So that's really nice. It looks like we're actually going to have quite a few flowers, at least over here, so I'm glad I didn't cut this off. But I think I mentioned before, I was trimming the wisteria and I wanted to see what comes back because somebody looped it around this beam here, which was stupid. And I'm definitely not going to leave it there because, I mean, I do like having the wisteria growing around here, but like that's going to end up basically crushing that beam at some point. So I'm letting all of this flower, and then I'll probably, unfortunately, have to take it all the way back to there to get rid of that loop-de-loop and basically start over. But we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm hoping that we get more light or more growth on this side. Let me zoom out. Try to zoom out. Yeah, get more growth on this side. I need to get Francis out to mow the lawn. But the grapevines are waking up. These two middle ones have not shown any signs of life, but there's one way over there, and there's another one over here that have started waking up. So that's super cool. Out in the orchard, I showed you last week things waking up, but this week we actually have our first flowers. So I'll zoom in on those. Isn't that pretty? They look like roses almost, but this is an apple. So we're actually, getting flowers on that one, but these other ones are absolutely leafing out. So that's super cool. Earlier, it's starting to rain, of course it is. Earlier this week, the farmer was out digging a hole right there, and they jumped in it with like a giant like scroll thing. And when I looked into it, it looks like they're probably doing some sort of like soil structure analysis or something before they plant. So that's exciting. I mean, it sounds like they're at least planning on taking care of the soil. More green. I like green. Ooh, I did get water to my stuff. So here I put in a new little faucet, and we actually have water, which is incredible. And then down here, I mean, right now it's just kind of ghetto drain. But I renewed the cardboard, and I'll put mulch down, and this drain, I'll probably like create something so that it collects in one of my watering cans so I can just kind of recycle the water. But at least I have water. So that's exciting. And I set up this green hose so that I can water the plants here. And then we already had the water going up to the potager, so I'll show you the stuff up there. But the stuff down here, like these are those cuttings that I stuck in the ground the other week, and they're still green, so that's always good. Seedlings. This just has like some lovage down there and some leeks. Rhubarb. I put something here, but I don't. Oh, I think chives are in here. These are the comfreys that will eventually go out in the orchard, but haven't done that yet. Of course, it's starting to rain, so I'll go up and show you the potager. In the house, I've been working on, every week I make myself 3 to 4 liters of ginger ale and a pot of yogurt. So I have kind of a system working on that now. So that's cool too. And out in the garden, I got more hose and more hose attachments. So now I have a small one for these closer beds, and I have a long one for the farther beds. And this bed has, I did go ahead and plant fava beans all the way along the center. So this is going to be my legume bed. My fruits, tomatoes, peppers, aubergines, etc. are going to go in this bed. My roots are already growing in there, at least some of them. And brassicas, so Brussels sprouts, cabbage, radishes, things like that are going to go in this bed. I read online that technically I don't need to do like rotation gardening in such a small garden, but I figure since I have 4 beds, I may as well set them up so I can do rotation if I wanted to. The Vinca minor is looking very pretty, and it's raining now, and we're expecting more rain this week. So actually my plan is I want to pull up some of these because like when we first moved in, we just started with a little bit of this Vinca growing over here, and I've gradually been like guiding it along the fence. But since we have such a far way to go, I'm actually planning on pulling some up with the roots and then going ahead and laying them down in the mulch along the fence line to kind of give them a head start. And I might do that soon because we're expecting rain. So that way, hopefully I can just kind of lay them in place and let them grow. But also along this line, I had a bunch of pea or like green bean seeds, unknown to me green bean seeds. So I've gone ahead and planted them all along here. So if they're bush beans, they'll just be quite small. But if they're runner beans, then they can just grow along the fence. And we did get rain. We're getting more rain right now. But yeah, so we got a bit of rain. And we have not gotten, the temperature hasn't gone below like 7.5 Celsius. So we are pretty sure we're beyond any sort of frosts, freezes, etc. This was 1 bale of straw, did this whole bed, plus a little extra. So obviously my copious amounts of hay or straw bales up there was a massive overkill, but I had no idea, and I wanted to have enough to line along here anyway. So I'll use that for compost or the chickens or what have you, which, speaking of, chicken coop is pretty much done. I went ahead, I went through and basically like on all the seams, I made sure that the hog ties are pretty much like every inch. So all the way around, that's been done. And I probably still need to go inside and hog tie the ceiling, but at least it's getting there. I cleaned up this area. The door, Francis and I are still figuring out the door. And along here, I've actually planted things. So if I go on this side, you can kind of see where there's like a mound of dirt. But I brought a mound of dirt and then covered it up with mulch. So the things that are planted along here are Apios Americana, which is like it's a tuber that grows vines with flowers similar to wisteria. But you can actually eat the tubers. So my hope is that the vines will kind of grow up and look pretty on the chicken cage. And then every 2 to 3 years, you harvest the tubers and you get like, basically they grow about 1 inch every year. So like the first year, they're only going to be 1 inch. And the second year, they'll be about 2 inches. So you could harvest them the second year, or you wait till the year 3 and they get pretty big. Or the longer you leave them in the ground, the bigger they get, apparently. But that's what I've planted along here. So we'll see what happens. What else? I think that's about it, but I did want to show, so far it doesn't look, I mean, we've kind of been following my little passion fruit down here. And, it's still green, like it's still green on the bottom. So I'm cautiously optimistic that it'll grow back, but I don't know. So we'll see what happens there. But look, I'll leave you with a beautiful flower. So yeah, I think that's it for this week. Things to come. I think I'm going to be working on the cardboard and mulch path down the orchard this next week. I need to try to get Francis out here to cut the grass for me. But if he can do that, then I'll work on that. I need to get we have, like, the gate here has been kind of jerry-rigged with this little thing that I never bother closing it because it's kind of a pain. But it gets really windy, and this gate goes all over the place. So I need to get a proper latch on there and start using it. And then in the vein of like paths and stuff, I'm planning on, I'll clear up the rocks there and the rocks here, and I may continue the path up there. But over here you can see that I've gone ahead and I've like started laying out more weed block to suppress the weeds on this side. And then basically somewhere in here is where I will end up constructing some sort of thing which will have my my winter squash. Because you may or may not remember, but like for the last 2 years I've had the winter squash in the potager and they've taken over, and I keep like complaining about my sea of squash leaves and saying like this is the year that I'm not doing that. So the plan is that I'm not going to plant squash unless it's in a mound somewhere out here, somewhere away from the potager. I was originally thinking it would be nice to maybe plant somewhere over there, but realistically the problem is that like this is the gate, and I need access here for like a decent sized truck to continue to deliver mulch, because this will be gone in no time. So I'm going to have to get more mulch, and then also delivering the compost. So I need to be able to get the truck back and forth up here. So I think the best I can do is basically just suppress the weeds along the straw there. And I think I do want to bring more mulch along there and potentially do like flowers or something else. But the willow is growing, behind. So the idea obviously is that the willow is going to grow and then that's going to end up shading this. So I'm not really sure what I might grow there. But the plan is to keep this driveway open so that I can still receive all of my stuff, which pretty much means squash will go somewhere over there. As well as citrus. We are still thinking about putting the citrus along there as well. So yeah, that's all coming. I'm going to try to get Francis to mount that gate so that I can get the latches. I mean, I'll get the latch going on the other gate anyway, but we need to get this gate mounted, and we need to work on finishing that chicken door so that we can think about potentially getting chickens and getting them used to returning back to the coop while we finish the rest of the chicken run. So I think that's it for this week. I hope you had a good one, and I will leave you with my Apium Apium, cotton candy Apium. It's got lots of leaves. So spring is here. Anyway, hope you had a good one. I'll see you next week. Bye.